Good afternoon, Charles Moskowitz here. It occurs to me, and this may be obvious to most of my listeners, that the alt-right and the alt-left are really the same thing. The differences are more cosmetic and stylistic than they are real. What is it that they both represent? Firstly, both of them are race-based. They believe that there is some significance in someone's genetic and biological background, whether it be the alt-right, which has a tendency to view white people, how that is defined in a social construct as having some significance, or whether it be the alt-left, which views non-white people as having some kind of significance. In both cases, they are running contrary to the American ideal, which is that the individual is paramount, which individual success is the ultimate virtue. Both alt-left and alt-right are anti-religious. They both tend to be atheistic and materialistic in nature. Both are anti-Jewish, generally speaking, including Jews who adhere sometimes to the alt-left. And when I say anti-Jewish, I don't mean that ethnically. I mean in terms of belief in the principles of Judaism, which is that there is a God, and that God has the covenant between God and the children of Israel. Both are anti-Israel, for certainly, and both are authoritarian in nature. They both believe that the American government should be based upon a principle that is outside of an objective standard of individual rights, and that emphasizes particular people based upon their racial background. Now, it is true that the United States historically has been racist and has been white supremacist. I don't think we can't deny that history. We were settled by people from Europe, particularly Great Britain, who happen to be white, as it's defined. And again, these are definitions that change over time, because after all, the original American colonists viewed people in continental Europe as not white, and as Irish people as not white. So whiteness has been defined over time to include more and more people. But having said that, it did view slaves from Africa as part of a lesser race. There's no way around that, particularly in the southern plantation states and in plantation societies, less so in the north. But I would contend that in spite of that, particularly after World War II, those lines were blurred, and people of non-white people were able to begin to achieve in this country and throw aside these, draconian anti-people laws that prohibited them from access because of their ethnic background, which is something that again is antithetical to the American creed, but it is something that unfortunately exists in every society. To the fact that the fact that we've gotten rid of that to the degree we have is testament to how progressive we actually are as a society. And we should also note that America is multiracial and multicultural and multi-ethnic, unlike most societies in the world. So, we ought to give ourselves credit in that regard, but I hope that we don't go back to the vision of either the alt-right or the alt-left. Not that ever has been one that has been appealed to the better nature of Americans. That being one based upon the significance of someone because they happen to be quote-unquote white, as if that matters, or this race identity politics where everyone is identified by their race, which is the alt-left, or their ethnic background as this having some kind of significance. And I'll just point out and conclude that both alt-right and alt-left are victimology ideologies and faiths. They believe that they are put upon, that they're exploited by some kind of dominant group, that they're victims. On the alt-right, you have white people who actually feel victimized by white people. the liberal Eastern Seaboard Protestant establishment, which tends to be overwhelmingly white, is, selling out the white race as they see it. And then, of course, on the left, the alt-left, anyone who is not white is a victim automatically. They are oppressed. And thus they subsume, in the broad sense, their own individual identity and capability and future, to embrace this idea that somehow they're a victim and therefore that everyone else owes them something. And as such, they lose their basic, on both sides, you lose your basic moral compass, because if you feel like you're a victim and you feel like some external force has victimized you in some way, then you're going to cut corners on ethics and morals as a way to right that wrong as you perceive it. There is no morality ultimately for the victim, because the victim can justify anything in the name of victimhood. So both alt-left and alt-right are un-American. The American ideal is the individual, sovereign, under God, in control to the degree possible, which is limited, of their own life and of their own destiny, and loyal to a nation state that protects those rights, not as a nation state that is the originator of rights, which is, by the way, the tendency of both alt-left and alt-right. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. This is Charles Moskowitz. Have a great day.